Right. Hello, and welcome back to the Spots of Wisdom podcast. I'm Shannon. I run Spot That Dog. Today we have Jess from Hoof and Paws back again. Hello, Jess.
Hiya,
So,
right.
today we are going to talk about something that I know Jess is passionate about. We are going to talk about pain in dogs and actually how relevant it is to their behaviour because a lot of people don't seem to understand it. So, Jess, get me started.
Yeah, so often as trainers, we might suggest that a dog might be looking uncomfortable, might be walking in a certain way that suggests there might be a pain element in their behaviour. Um, and often what I come across is owners going, oh, but they play, they are eating and they are drinking okay. But that is a massive, massive misconception.
Yeah, and I think like it's the simplest thing sometimes, isn't it? That the untrained eye won't even notice. So we were having the discussion the other day. Um, so while he's not necessarily in pain, Bucky has got a weakness on his back legs, just where he's gone from he's an adolescent teenager who's doing a lot of growing and had a period of time where he wasn't allowed off lead because he's a teenager and wasn't listening. Um, which he bunny hops. So
Yeah.
while he's not necessarily in pain, he's got the weakness there. And again, for someone who doesn't know that, wouldn't know that bunny hopping's a thing. And I think as well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I feel like there's like two different kinds of bunny hopping. So you've
Yeah.
got the excitable, bouncy bunny hop, which if Woody's doing it, he almost does it to make himself go faster. Whereas obviously if it's a different kind of bunny hop, which is the painful one, then they're almost like laggy. So like one leg follows behind. It's not like a double bunny hop. It's like almost like a canter, but it's not a canter sort of thing.
All right, got you.
One
Yeah.
just kind of trails behind. And again, for the untrained eye, like we look at this kind of thing on a daily basis, but for the untrained eye, you wouldn't just notice that.
Again, it's I think it's knowing your dog's natural gait,
Yeah,
and if that then changes in any way.
yeah,
So like I always say to owners, if you're concerned and you think your dog might be lame, obviously us as equestrians as well, we're used
yeah.
to seeing
We
lameness,
see
and
lameness all the time.
we can see it even if it's really subtle. But obviously, if you've never had to deal with that before, then I ask owners to video them doing all
Yeah,
gaits on
walk,
all
trot,
different.
canter, yeah,
Yeah, and then doing it on all different terrains as
yeah,
well, because they might not necessarily be lame on carpet, but we
yeah,
take them out in the woods as walkers, and we're like, oh, they're actually lame.
yeah,
Or we'll take them on a pathway. Oh, they're lame on a pathway.
yeah.
So again, it's like knowing that, and those subtle changes as well. Like your dog might have gone from like jumping up onto the sofa or up into the bed. Suddenly they can't do that.
Yeah.
There might be an indication that there's a problem there.
Yeah, and I think it's like it's pinpointing things, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we know with Woody's got it's not a slip disc, but it's like a slip disc. I've mentioned it to you guys before, but people listening. So there's a point in his back which is weak, we'll say.
Mhm.
He's also hypermobile. Both my dogs are hypermobile, which is extremely helpful. Um, and I know to the day that it caused an issue, and we were out in the countryside and he ran after a hare. But this field we were in was solid hedge. Like there was no holes in the hedge or anything, but somehow he'd gone through the hedge. He'd obviously found either the only hole or the only like lightly hedged part and ran straight through it after the hare, come back, and I think a couple of days after that I noticed that he was just off.
Yeah.
And actually that was the end of his agility career. Like he can go off lead, he can run around, but he can't run around as much as like Bucky would do now. He doesn't have the zoomies as much as Bucky would. Again, there's the age difference,
Mhm.
but it's important as an owner to notice these situations and these scenarios where it could be not life-changing, but it could be an instigator to a behavioral change in your dog.
For sure. And then there's like the other side of it that we get called out as trainers, where we're getting called out and there might be resource guarding, there might even be separation
Yeah.
anxiety or reactivity, and that's a sudden change. And often,
Yeah.
well, more often than not, that could be related to an underlying condition. That's
Yeah.
why we ask people to go and see your vet, go and see your physio, and speak to those pet professionals. But I think an important thing for me to touch on is when we ask to go and see your vet, we're not saying go for a basic checkup. We are
Yeah.
asking for them to check every
Yeah.
joint. And
And yeah,
yeah,
I think we had this discussion about one of my clients the other day. I referred them to the vet because there was not an incident, nothing major happened, but obviously there's something of concern. They went to the vet, and then when we had a consult the other day, I said, "Oh, how did that go?" And she goes, "Well, the vet said there's no pain, but he checked his teeth, checked his tail, checked his glands," and I was like, "Well,
not really
what we
anything.
were asking for is it."
Yeah,
So they've now been referred on to a physio. While he doesn't look like he's in any pain, again, like we said, like behavioral changes can be inflicted by pain. And in the last episode, um, with me and Jade a couple of ones ago, we were saying about how it's better to go to an individual specialist than it
yeah,
is just to go straight out and trust your vet. In the nicest way, vets will, unless you say, right, I need to go and get an x-ray because I think there's this wrong with my dog, this, that, and the other. If you just go in, I think he's in pain, they'll have a quick check over. They won't do anything in particular. Whereas if you go in with an idea or right, there's the physio for the muscles, there's chiro for like skeletal system, there's the nutritionist for their stomachs, like, and
yeah,
you can either go to the individuals or you need to go into your vet having a clue about what you're on about. Like just going in and be like, right, my dog's in pain. That could be anything. I was suggesting that either they go to the physio or they go to the vet and say, look, I want a pain trial.
yeah.
Because while, yes, in that instance, they don't get to the root of the issue, like we said, we'll see if there's a difference in their
Yeah.
behavior after they're being treated for pain. So,
And because, like, as humans, because we can't communicate with dogs, we can't actually say for definite that they're not in pain. So
no,
sometimes
exactly.
that's when, like, pain trials can be really, really useful, especially if there is like a physio's checked them over and they're like, I can't find
Yeah,
anything. Like, they can be really handy at pinpointing whether that issue is going to get
yeah,
better or worse with, or stay the same with pain meds, and that can be really handy.
yeah. I think obviously it all depends on what the owner wants to do, whether they want to go one way or the other first. Realistically, either way makes no difference because you go to physio and they say, right, yeah, they have got this in this place,
Mm.
but it might not be causing them pain. They might just be tight. Go to your vet and try a pain trial. Or you could just go to your vet, try a pain trial. If their behavior changes, you know that there is pain. If it doesn't change, then you know you've got to go investigate somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, from a financial point of view, your physio is probably a better bet,
Yeah,
financially, to rule anything out. Obviously, when it gets to the stage where your physio thinks that it's viable to do X-rays,
yeah,
then obviously that can be quite costly. And I sometimes think that people are genuinely quite scared of the cost that's going to
yeah.
entail as well.
And again, like I think we mentioned this in the podcast with Jade before, that while yes, it's good to have insurance, obviously as soon as it goes on your dog's profile, then that's it, sort of thing. So if you
Good
go
time.
into, if you go, this is cheating the system a bit, but if you go to physio, it doesn't go on your vet profile.
No, no,
So
it can cause that like little loophole, can't it, for
yeah,
you? So you can just check if it is a problem
yeah,
or not. And I don't know if you offer it personally, but I have said to clients before, if they're really unsure about what to go and ask their vet for, either I will phone their vet ahead for them, or I'm happy to go with them to the appointment if they
yeah,
really want that backup. And um, sometimes a vet will investigate more if it's come from a trainer or a behaviourist.
yeah. And I think I've always, it's more to do with when I do my walk-in. Like we've got a couple of clients who work with a local clinical behaviourist. And I say that sort of thing to them. I'm like, right, if there's a certain plan that your behaviourist needs us to follow, then that's fine. Just get like send them my way. We'll have a chat. Same with, like I said, so obviously if we're talking not legally, but technically, I'm a trainer. I'm not classified as a behaviourist. So me and you can actually prescribe medication.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can go, look, go talk to your vet and just say your dog trainer said, is it worth trying a pain trial?
Mhm.
Then it's down to their vet to prescribe that, whatever meds it is. We don't tell them what meds to get. We don't tell them like it's definitely going to work. Is have the discussion with your vet.
Yeah.
Then it's down to the vet to make that decision on where to go from there.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it's really important that everyone's working on the same page as well.
Yeah,
Whether you're a walker, whether you're a sitter, whether you're a trainer, behaviourist, vet, physio, doesn't matter who you are. Just work with an owner and tailor a plan
yeah,
for whatever you're doing with that dog.
yeah. And I think, like you said, like it is good. I mean, it will probably have this discussion in other episodes, but it's important to have that army behind you as an owner,
Yeah,
and not necessarily that they have to talk to each other, but make them aware of each other so that they understand where the advice is coming from different things. So, like we've got a McTimony practitioner
yep,
for both Ada and the boys. And we also have our hydrotherapists who do physio as well. Um, so the conversations go between like from point to point, but with me in the middle. They see each other's reports that I'll send them and they're fine with that. And then it'll be so I think our activity practitioner suggested to go to hydro, so then we've gone to hydro to be able to like sort out Bucky's weakness because obviously treading water is helpful in building muscle, and then vice versa. We'd have different responses both ways just to come up with a
yeah.
plan altogether.
Yeah, and I think that is great. And I don't know, just touching on a bit about working together. I don't know about you, but nothing infuriates me more when you're doing a training plan or as a walker, and an owner will go, you'll be like, oh, something's a little bit not quite right, or something's a little bit off this week, like in a training session, and go, oh yeah, they went and saw the physio or something and they've forgotten to tell
Yeah.
you, or they had such and such incident, or oh, that yeah, they fell off the bed yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
And the same in another way is
yeah,
like, and we've semi got it at the minute, um, is you should be able to, whether we're working as trainers or whether we're working as the dog walkers or sitters, we should be able to tell our clients anything.
yeah,
Um, and is always from a point of care and from a point of responsibility. It's not a bit, it's not a dig. It's
no,
not a way to make you spend money. Like it's because we generally are either concerned or upset. So like if I went and messaged someone, I wouldn't say your dog's fat, but to say, look, since the last time I seen your dog, they've put on quite a bit of weight.
yeah,
That's not, again, it's not me just going dog fat. Like it's right, it's been 2 weeks since I last seen your dog and they've put on about 4 kilos. Like
yeah.
it's not me digging, it's not me being nasty. It's you
It
might not
comes,
notice it, but equally
yeah,
being a pet care professional, I need to do that. And I've had it vice versa. I know how it feels. And it's one of those, it is on the way it's addressed.
yeah,
And that's why for me, like within my group of girls, like work wise, we always have to have the discussion first before it's passed on to the client to make sure that it's always addressed in the correct way. Um, Depending on the client, some clients they won't care. We can say your dog got fat and they'll be fine with it. Whereas there's other clients, and we have to go very careful with our wording because their dog is their baby, and they will get really offended if you say that their dog's put on a pound. Like it we're never going to do it again. Like I said, we're not going to make you go to the vet to waste your money, because at the end of the day that money didn't come to us. It is no benefit to us sending you your dog, like sending your dog to the vet. It makes no difference for us. So if we've said something like that, it's out of like concern, is out of care, is our responsibility as your pet professional to tell you these things. Because again, like we said, right, so talking pain, if a dog puts on weight, it could put pain on their joints.
Yeah.
It could put strain on their heart, it could put strain on literally everything in their body because their body's carrying the excess weight.
Yeah.
We're not saying
But
it to be horrible.
yeah, absolutely. By mentioning that, it comes from a place of love on our behalf and us being ethical
Yeah.
professionals for sure. And we do have to have those uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversations. I've had to have them, whether it's weight, whether it's the fact of the over ball use,
Yeah.
like with ball chuckers and stuff. I'm had to say, like, whilst I understand you want to exercise your dog, that's not
Yeah.
exercising them in the best possible way for them. And that is putting unmentionable amount of
Yeah.
pressure on their legs. And I don't say it to be a party pooper and
Yeah.
be like, oh, because I know that those owners aren't doing it, but
Yeah.
they're doing it for the love of their dog. They love the fact that their dog loves to run and chase the ball. And yes, dogs do generally like to chase things,
Yeah.
but the pressure that those ball throwers are
Yeah.
putting
I
on
think,
a dog's system is unmentionable. And not to mention, if you want a good 4 or 5 grand vet
yeah.
bill added onto that for cruise ships, that's the
Yeah.
way to do it.
And it's the same with us again in a different scenario, isn't it? Like if we've got certain dogs, and I had it the other day and I can't remember what it was. It was something I either don't let the dog off lead or I don't do something with it wasn't letting, so I sent the owner a picture of the dog with a stick.
Yeah,
Because they got two dogs, and while I turned around to pick dog poo up with one, I turned around and the other one had found a stick out of nowhere and he was just chomping on it. So I sent her a picture, just so literally I'd had my back turned for 2 seconds.
yeah,
Nothing happened, but like it was just funny. And I was like, I don't let them chew it, by the way. Like I don't encourage sticks. Like I
yeah,
will, okay, with Woody, I have played with sticks, but I'm very strategic on the way I do it. Um, I throw sticks flat, not up. I make sure I throw it away from him. So if he's going that way, I throw it that way so it lands and then he has to go and run for it. Like
yeah,
it's never going to land like that. It's always going to land like that. Again, what I do with my dog is different sometimes to how I do it with clients' dogs. We reduce the risk of anything with clients' dogs as well, don't we? Because they're not
yeah.
ours. Um, but it was one of those I'll be like, right, I don't encourage sticks with clients' dogs. And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's good. We won't do that either then." And sometimes you've got to be a little bit stricter with clients and clients' dogs to ensure that sort of safety. Like it might be something that's never crossed their mind in, oh, he's just got a stick. And it's like, well, yeah, he has just got a stick, but if he's chewing up the stick, he might be swallowing little bits of like
Would-
little shards of wood
yeah.
and they get lodged in his throat and stuff like that. And it might not be something that they've even thought of before.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've gone into homes and it's been Christmas time, and what comes with Christmas is rawhide
Yeah,
and these pretty colourful rawhides that people love to buy their dogs.
yeah,
And straight away, it's up and it's on top of the fridge. And it's down to them whether they give it to their dog. But I would just send a little message and just go,
yeah,
I've put so and so's gift on top of the fridge. It is rawhide. I won't
yeah,
feed rawhide. And I just let them know the problems that rawhide can
yeah,
give. And if you want an alternative, I'm happy to advise
yeah.
a safer alternative.
And we've had it the same with like clients will say, "Oh yeah, we'll leave a treat out for you to leave the dog with," and I'll get there and I'll see what the treat is. If it's something that can be consumed in like a minute, then fine, they can have it, and then I'll go. Um, if it's something that is like one of the roasted bones, or like you can get, I know you're not meant to have cooked bones, but you get the roasted knuckle bones, etc., etc.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know.
Like one of the longer lasting ones, which are chunky, then I won't do it, and I'll let the owners know and just say, look, not left them with it. I've scattered some treats instead so that they can have a snuffle instead of a chew.
Yeah.
Um, but for my responsibility, my insurance, I'm not leaving your dog with a chew that they may not chew
Yeah,
properly.
it's fine if you give it to them while you're there and you're just sitting and
Yeah,
watching them. But like, yeah, as you say, if it's wanting to be left with them before you leave, from our point of view as pet professionals, that's on our head.
yeah. Because
So
even though we're not there, like,
we've left it for them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's different. Like, if it was left on the side by the owner and the dog just decided to take it after we left, that if we've not touched it, that's not down to us. But if we physically handed that treat to the dog and then as we've gone, they've started choking on it, then that is down to us, unfortunately.
absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, there's loads of things within our day, and I'm sure you can think of 100 things that we try and put measures in place, um whether or not it's like physically like putting a coat on a dog so that they don't get cold, therefore it's not less impact on their joints and obviously coats as well, keep them nice and clean. To like, I don't know, I've gone in a house before and thought, oh God, their hallway's really slippery, and their dog comes charging to
Yeah,
the door at me with excitement. I'm like, oh, actually, there should probably be a runner there
yeah,
because that dog could slip.
yeah.
Um,
And
there's
there's so much that can come back to pain, isn't there? Like you just said, like that in itself can cause issues, but it's noticing, like we said, going back to the start, and noticing those behaviors as well. So people might not realize different indicators of behavior. So, I mean, we've all had the conversations through our groups before, but a dog who doesn't like having their coat put on or their harness put on or their collar or handling wise, they don't like being touched.
yeah,
Massive indicator of pain. A dog who sits there and just like gnaws at themselves and, oh yeah, it's just allergies, but is it just allergies or is
yeah.
it that your 2 year old or your 4 year old or 8 year old or whatever is actually in pain and by chewing their joints is relieving that pressure? Like there's so much people don't realize are indicators.
And there's also the opposite flip side of that is hyperactivity can be an indicator of pain. So my terrier, for example, when she's not feeling right, she will go like hyper, like uncontrollable, bouncing off the sofas, excitement. And you would think, oh my God, she's like super hyper. What the hell? It's like she's on
Yeah.
Red Bull. But actually, that's her pain indicator. And that's my time that I give her Metacam. Um, and then we notice she calms down, she's less frantic. Um, and then, that and shaking is also can be an
Yeah.
indication of pain. But again, if you saw Peggy and her hyperactivity, you would literally think, oh my God, that dog's bouncing off the walls. You
Yeah.
wouldn't think pain at all.
And I think, again, when we say a change in behavior can be an indicator, it is not always what people expect or think either. Like we're not talking about just talking about a dog who goes from 0 to 100.
Mhm.
Woody, for example, again, the reason we knew he had an issue wasn't because he ran through the hedge after a a hare. Yeah, that happened, but you didn't. He wasn't limping after. He was fine.
Yeah,
It was the following few weeks when we tried to take him to agility, and he started to refuse the jumps.
yeah,
Well, that dog's been doing agility since he was a year old. Like for
yeah,
4 or 5 years, he's been doing agility 3 times a week. He's a fit dog. And all of a sudden, the dog's refusing to do something he loves doing. It's not, he doesn't dislike it. He loves doing agility. So that is a change in behavior. He's decided that no, actually, he doesn't want to do it. And that's his indicator of pain.
yeah,
He can't physically do it. So that was something that straight out we went and got him looked at. So we ended up going like went to the vet about it. I think we probably went to the physio, but we got the ortho team, like ortho specialists out as well and everything. And Woody's not, although he hates the vet and he's petrified at the vet, he's never done anything. The ortho bloke was the one and only time he's ever reacted to a vet. And he's not done anything wrong, but he was pressing a certain part of that, like his back, and he just went and swung his head round. He didn't bite, he didn't show his teeth. He was like, "Oh, that hurt,"
yeah.
and then got on with it. And we've never had any issues before or after. So
But it's that reading that
yeah,
subtlety of he went, ow, that hurt.
yeah,
Like that shouldn't be ignored.
yeah. Exactly. And I think like it's one of those situations where I'm pretty sure beforehand I was like, yeah, no, don't worry, I'll be fine. And then he went, oh, phew. And you're like,
Oh,
so there's something there then.
yeah,
Like
there
that's
is
not
something.
nothing because Woody loves people, absolutely loves people. So I have got no concerns with him around people in the
And
slightest.
he's absolutely fine with unknown people as he slept on
Yeah.
top of me, didn't
He
he?
had cuddles for the weekend, didn't he, with you? So there was no problems with that. And that's the thing, like in that itself, if you look at Woody's behavior, like we could mention, there's the change in different things. So before lockdown, he used to be quite nervous to people.
Yeah,
Never, he, again, didn't do anything. He was a type of dog. He'd come up to you and be like, "Nah, not today," and he'd walk away. Like he didn't want to come close to you. He'd kind of suss you out, and then he'd walk away and get on with his life.
yeah,
Um, was dog friendly at that point, loved other dogs.
yeah,
Lockdown hit, other things hit, like obviously he lost his tail,
yeah,
um, became dog reactive, but then loves people. And I think again, there's that. Well, yes, we know now he's in pain. It was whether his tail pain caused him trauma, and then he just assumed that he'd get hurt by other dogs. So
yeah,
that's where his reactivity comes from. But other than when he's at the vet, he's never had any traumatic experiences with humans, if that makes sense. He's never had
yeah,
traumatic experiences with dogs, but he was in a cone for 4 months with his tail trying to heal. So you can kind of see where different things, but that's two massive changes in behavior. You've
yeah,
gone from a dog who doesn't want strange people touching him to a dog who will seek out attention from new people to a dog that was not like overly friendly with dogs. He was friendly, but he wasn't like rude
yeah.
to being dog reactive. So they, like we said, we both know that that's all down to pain.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just got to listen to your dog, listen to those changes in behaviors, don't force it and look for
Yeah.
things. If you have any indication that there might be something quite not quite right, ask a
Yeah.
professional to support you.
And it's the simple things as well. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that like your dog's crippled or there's anything like that. But
Yeah,
you think of like a bitching season, she's
yeah,
probably going to be in some pain and discomfort, and the likelihood is she's going to be cranky.
yeah,
It's not a bitching season is very much like a woman on a period. It will go into a cycle. Things are uncomfortable.
yeah.
Things are going to make you feel a little bit shitty. Like,
Yeah, and it's okay to have an off day.
yeah,
Like, we're not saying that every dog has to be a machine and they've got to be
yeah,
perfect every day. But listen to your dog. If your dog's going, no, I don't want to go out today, don't force them to
yeah,
go out. Listen to them. Like, if they be like, for example, as you said, like he struggled with those jumps at
yeah,
agility, don't force your dog to go over
yeah.
them. Look at, is this happening on a regular basis? So for you, I'm guessing you went for a couple of weeks and you're like, oh, actually, this isn't a one-off. This is a or a couple of sessions. It was
Yeah,
like,
so I think it must have been after I started doing my training.
yeah,
So I used to rent the venue on a weekend as well. So I think it was on one of my own renting sessions. So I would have normally when I rent the agility arena, I do an hour with Woody first, and then I have my class while he's in the van. Um, and I think it was on one of those sessions where I'm playing around with him, and he's just like, nah, not today. And equally, like we still do it occasionally with him. He doesn't. He has it once a week, if that.
yeah,
Now, because he still enjoys it. It's just whether his body's up for it. And I took him yesterday in at the start he wasn't interested. I did have Bucky there, so Bucky's a big distraction. Um he wasn't interested at the start, and then as we got in a little bit just messing around with it, he then got more into it. And
yeah,
again, like you said, there's things that whether it's pain or whether it's things they don't like, sorry,
mhm,
there's you don't force your dog into things that they're not comfortable with. So Woody has never been able to do the seesaw when it comes to agility. He cannot do it. He'll do the A-frame, he'll do the weaves, he'll do the dog walk, he will do tunnels, the jumps, the lot. He used to be able to do jumps on the top level because he has a proper spring on him. He will not do the seesaw, and now that I don't think that's down to pain, but that's down to fear. He
Yeah.
has thrown himself off the end quite a few times where
Yeah.
there's a few times where we've had a break and he's gone back onto it and he's forgot about it and he's just ran full pelt at it, thinking it's the dog walk and just flew off the end.
Right.
Which there, yeah, right, he might have hurt himself coming off the other end, but I also think there's the fear of the noise of it because I don't know, when agility, the seesaw bangs, it's loud. He has some noise sensitivity, so there is that. But I don't force him to go onto the seesaw. Every so often we'll try just to try and train it, but the minute he says no, that's it, we don't do it.
Yeah. You're like, no.
Just he can do everything else, so why would I force him? I'm not going to compete him.
Yeah.
He's 8 this year, so there's no point me forcing him into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like listening to your dog more, isn't it? Like all of us can learn a lot from listening to your dog.
Yeah. And it's knowing different behaviors, isn't it, and things from them. So, like you said, with dogs that shake and stuff like that, every dog's got different ways of how they do it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're probably the same as me, although I'm not a physio, I'm not an osteo. I have done a gait analysis course. I am more than happy if one of my walking clients, training clients, um, phone me and be like, is my dog actually looking a little bit off, and film
Yeah,
it and send it to me.
yeah,
And I'll go, oh, either I'm not sure, speak to,
yeah,
the physio, or yes, absolutely they are off. You need a vet
yeah.
or you need physio at that point. But I'm
And
absolutely okay with offering that to
yeah,
someone if they're not.
of I've, I mean, Mia's obviously a horsey girl anyway, so she can see lameness, and I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure we've managed to train Tony to see lameness. That's just part of what we do with our walking. We'll just tell the owners, right, he's looking lame today. Might
yeah,
be nothing, but you need to know.
absolutely. Like we're the same. And when you've been in business as long time as we have, our clients has a lot of them are starting to get older, little
Yeah,
ailments are coming up, and little subtleties in changes in behavior. And whether that's like, I had one of my elderly dog clients with me the other day, and he has a lovely habit, it's so cute, of where he will basically roll around. When you
yeah,
let him off lead, the first thing he wants to do is have a roll, and he loves it. And last week, I said to his mum, didn't roll when I let him off lead. He just stood there, which is really unusual. And
yeah,
that's such a subtle change in behaviour. And the second thing I noticed on exactly the same walk, now he always, when we're walking to the beach from his home, he will always go to the toilet for a poo
yeah,
on the way to the beach. Always, it gets put in the bin and then we carry on our walk.
yeah,
He didn't actually go for a poo until almost home,
yeah,
which again, you could argue that's such a subtle change,
yeah,
but it's enough for me as a pet professional to notice, to be
yeah,
like his mum, just so you know. Well, we actually found the next day when I went to walk him, because I walk him a few days a week, he was the same. He didn't roll again. So his mum actually gave him he's got some Metacam on alongside to his
yeah,
Librela injections that he starts when his Librella's running out. Um, she gave him that. The next day when I walked him, he was great. He ran out the house
yeah,
to greet me. So it showed you that that pain was there.
yeah. And that's the thing. There's so much that people might not notice. Like a big thing for us, and I'm sure it's the same for you, is that like we'll do poo reports.
Yeah,
So, oh, they've literally just made it outside the house and they've only made it out the front door before they've
yeah.
gone, or it might be runny today, or it might be hard, it might be this, that, and the other. Um, Again, all can be signifiers of something being wrong or painful or different.
Or they've eaten something that they shouldn't
Yeah,
have. Yeah, as you say, like that's us doing our job correctly. We
yeah,
will notice what's normal, not normal for that dog, and what's normal for that dog. And okay, whilst we probably don't send a text message to our dog, our
every day.
clients,
Yeah,
every single moment of the day, they pooed and weed this many
yeah,
times. But when you say, oh, like for example, that dog, he always poos on the way to the beach.
yeah,
When he didn't, he did his walk to the beach and after. I was like, oh, okay, that's different.
yeah. And I think we've had to have an agreement with a couple of clients that like their dog does have a sensitive stomach. So if unfortunately they do have diarrhea or they do have soft poo or whatever, that is not as much of a concern for them as it is for some other dogs, if that makes sense. Because unfortunately, literally they could have the tiniest piece of ham or cheese that the child's fed them, and that's it, their stomach's gone for a week. Like,
Yeah,
whereas we can have a dog like my two, the minute they've got pretty solid stomach, so if their poo's not normal, I know there's something wrong.
yeah,
Um,
this is the same.
so we've got an agreement with a couple of clients that will only tell them, not only tell them, but like make a fuss of it if like it comes out like water or they do like six poos in one walk. Like if they have one and is a bit soft, then it doesn't matter. Whereas
Yeah.
if they do loads or if it is like water or runny, then yeah, we'll let them know. And again, other clients, we will tell them straight away because it's not normal for their dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and I had even last week I had one of my usual girlies. She is normally life and soul pie, especially if it's rained, because
Yeah,
she loves the water. So it had rained, so I let her off lead like I normally do. And instead of going charging down the pathway for a puddle, she just mooched the whole
yeah,
walk, just mooched beside me. To me, that's a massive,
yeah,
massive change in behavior. And her mum had actually said like she was like very mopey that day and very tired. We gave her a nap, and if it's a massive problem, and their mum said over the weekend she'll pop her to the vets or speak to
yeah,
the vets. You know, but it's that subtle change, isn't it? Like
yeah,
how we normally are with us on walks or during training sessions. If that's different, it's report. It's
yeah.
our job to report
And
it.
again, while going back to things that aren't necessarily massive, as we've said about like a dog who doesn't like having a collar on or the harness on or this, that, and the other, while yes, they could be big indicators that there's underlying pain dog somewhere, it could also be a sign that that harness is irritating them or that collar is irritating. Like different dogs don't like different things. So, like you said before, with Zeus, because of how fluffy he is,
Yeah,
certain types of collars might be pulling on his fur, or
yeah,
like they might not just be suitable for that type of dog. Or, like we said, we prefer a Y front harness because it doesn't restrict any movement, whereas some owners will go straight out and buy the Julius Canine ones and be happy with it because it stops their dog pulling, but they don't realize that actually those types of harnesses can cause pain in their dogs and the way they walk because it restricts their movement and stuff like that. Like, while it's not necessarily a long-term issue, people don't tend to realize that those little things might be causing problems. Or my dog doesn't like wearing this harness anymore. Right, have you changed your harness? Yeah. What have you got? Oh, I've got one of the T-bar ones. Right, well, that's probably why, because they now can't move their legs like they should be moving them.
absolutely. I mean, we only had it a couple of over the last couple of weeks, but we had a client, and I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning, um, her dog had like a couple of spots on her neck,
Yeah,
and we didn't know where they'd come from at first. We thought maybe she'd had a tick and then it fell off, and
yeah,
none of us had been able to see it or notice it. And this has been going on for like a week or two, and she doesn't wear a collar when she's in home because she's in a crate.
yeah,
So we take it off when we drop her off and like put it back on. And like none of us could work it out, and she hadn't been wearing her collar because of these spots
yeah,
because they'd been sitting on it. So when they healed up, her mum put her collar back on. So we'd done a couple of walks where she just wore a harness with a tag on because
yeah,
of that. Because it was like literally sitting right on it. Anyway, as it turns out, because they've got another puppy, the puppy must have got hold of the collar at one point
yeah, and
and
just
chewed it. There was a little tiny bit of material that was sticking out that was actually like a razor blade and had cut
yeah,
her lip slightly. That none of us had ever
yeah,
noticed because it was so subtle. Um, but that was enough to cause an irritation with the collar.
yeah. And it's a prime example for people who, and I can relate it to dogs as well, but you think when you put boots on horses and they've never worn boots before,
Yeah.
their leg literally goes up by their head because they don't quite know the sensation and what to do. Or like you see the videos on TikTok of people who put snow boots on their dogs and then their dog ended up doing like handstands and stuff because their dogs just don't understand the sensation. And while no, it's not necessarily pain, it is discomfort. And it's just important for people to be able to pick out these things, even if they're less obvious. Like,
Yeah.
okay, a dog doing a handstand's pretty obvious, something's not right. But could you notice if it was a more subtle
Yeah.
sign? That made
Yeah.
sense.
Absolutely. And it goes back to if you're really unsure, ask a pet
Yeah,
professional to assess the situation from you for you.
yeah,
I'm more than happy to see a video. Equally, if a client's like on pickup for our dog walking clients, if they're like, oh, can you look at this? Equally, I'm absolutely fine with doing
yeah,
that.
exactly. And I think we're more appreciative as such as for those clients who mention it to us. And again, like you just said with yours, I'm sure this client might be mentioning it. Um, she booked her dog in for something at the vet, and unfortunately, the vet that they had just went straight in, didn't bother like, oh hi or whatever, like trying
Oh,
to introduce herself to the dog, literally just towered over and got onto it. And this client come to me and was like, well, what can I do? Because my dog's literally petrified. And
yeah,
not that the dog's in pain or anything like that, but it's been put in an uncomfortable position. And it's nice to have clients that appreciate you in that way. So what this client, they only come to one certain class a week. They don't come to any other classes. I don't mind, but like they come to socialization every week and that's it.
mhm,
And although that's the only training that they come to, they trust me enough that they'll ask for that advice in those
yeah,
situations because clearly something in that situation isn't correct. And whether that vet's accidentally put the dog in pain or just general discomfort, whether that's
yeah.
emotional or physical, it's still important that she's picked up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's being proactive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like for example, in that situation, if a bite had happened,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean your dog is then reactive
No.
or your dog's a bite risk, or it could be circumstantial.
Yeah. And I
So
think a lot of people miss the circumstantial things.
yeah,
Um, we've mentioned it in previous podcasts before, but where people their dog gets rushed and straight out, oh my God, my dog's going to become reactive. This and
yeah,
like sometimes it just happens and then they get on with it. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, right, your dog's been a bit scared because they've been rushed. And again, I like to define the difference between rush and attack. They're two different things. They are
yeah,
not the same. Um, but it isn't a defining factor.
absolutely. It's exactly the same as I necessarily wouldn't have classed. So, for example, the situation you just explained where that dog was in a vet, and then they got like put under maybe an uncomfortable situation, or as you say, maybe pinpointed pain. If that dog was to bite, I still wouldn't have
No,
classed that as a bite risk.
no,
To me, that's circumstantial.
yeah. And I've had it with a previous training client. I think I've mentioned to her in previous podcasts before where they were new to the country, so they didn't really know about the local Facebook groups for pet sitters and this, that, the other. So they just went on Rover, found the closest person they could, which was actually a dog boarder who was in a shared household, which I've never heard of before.
I
I don't
didn't think that
even
was
know if
allowed.
that's legal or not. And the dog ended up biting one of her friends or one of the housemates or whatever. And she described everything to me. I think we had either two or three sessions, and I just said to her, look, from what you've described and what I've done with this dog, I don't think he's a bite risk.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've got to go a lot more into it. However, this dog's been put in a situation, it's moved countries for a start, so it's gone from in America to here. So that's a big ass thing in itself.
Yeah.
To then being put into someone else's house, to then be approached by someone they don't know
Mhm.
and being put into a position we don't know what happened. They could have been cornered. Anything could have happened. We don't know. So the dog just felt the need to tell the person to back off.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't mauled. He wasn't like I can't remember how bad it was. I don't think it was that bad, but equally, again, the dog's communicated. It's plain
Yeah.
and simple. That dog has communicated it's uncomfortable. And I said it is circumstantial. You've not told me any other reason that your dog's uncomfortable other than that, like he was fine
Yeah.
with me on all the sessions, no issues there. So a lot of things can just be circumstantial rather than my dog's got an underlying pain issue. It could be, right, in this instance, yeah, right, I stood on your dog's tail.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean your dog's aggressive. It doesn't mean your dog's in pain. It might have just been that in that one instance, I've accidentally hurt your dog by standing on his tail. So yeah, it's going to bite me, sort of thing.
Yeah. And again, it's knowing though, like looking at it as a whole, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
looking at that like circumstances, it's looking at the environment, it's looking at what that dog was doing at that time
yeah,
as well. And again, you've got the other aspect of understanding subtleties in behavior. So that's why we always send
yeah,
escalation pyramids to clients.
yeah,
Don't punish that growl.
yeah,
Look at what comes before that, because the growl's the last thing you're gonna
yeah.
get.
And I do it a lot in puppy class now, just so that clients start off on the right foot. Um, we'll have people who will say they'll come up about resource guarding, and I'm like, right, but what's the scenario? Oh, well, I tried to take the bowl away. Well, why are you trying to take the bowl away? Do you need to take your puppy's bowl away from them?
Yeah,
Probably not. So why are you doing it? Like, you can see why certain things, and yeah, right, we'll give you some like tips and tricks on how to avoid it. But equally, are you putting your dogs in positions where they're being made to be uncomfortable when you don't need to do it? I don't need to take my dog's food bowls away if there's food in them. There's no need for it.
absolutely. And it's that myth, isn't it, of putting your hands in a dog's bowl as
Yeah.
well. It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And well, yeah, like I know with my dogs I can do that. I don't need to. Why would I need to? Like, it's not,
It's not a
there's no
thing.
need for it. No, there's no
Yeah,
need for it.
it's
I
not a
don't need
thing.
to take, we're not having none of this, oh, you have to be the alpha crap. Like, I don't need to take my dog's food bowl away from me. Same with you, same with me. If someone takes my food off my plate, they're probably going to get stabbed with a fork. Like,
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I would probably do more damage to them than the dog would do. So,
It's only up for sharing if I offer.
yes, exactly. Um, and again, if your dog takes something it shouldn't do, then there's a certain way about going about it. And
Yeah.
as we've said before, and we've discussed recently, that resource guarding, again, there's so much to it. It could be pain, it could be a learnt behavior, it could be that when they were being raised as a puppy, they had to fight for enough food and stuff like that. There's so much that comes into it, and it's important to look at all those factors to figure it out.
Particularly with resource guarding, like it is a natural behavior. They're not like a species made to share a buffet.
No.
Like, they do want to eat what they've got.
Yeah. And I think it again is circumstantial and is also one thing that I say to a lot of clients recently is pick your battles.
Yeah.
So, right, my dogs will resource guard against each other. No, nothing ever happens, but they'll have a growl at each other if one tries to come closer. I'm like, yeah, but at the end of the day, that's fair because
Yeah.
Woody shouldn't be stealing Bucky's food and Bucky shouldn't be stealing Woody's food.
Yeah.
They don't growl at me if I go near them or if I try to set the bowl away, but again, I don't need to.
You
So,
add to the bowl
it,
rather than take away as
yeah,
well, I
I
guess.
don't need to put my dogs in that position, but like you just said, it is actually quite natural for a dog to resource guard against each other because they
Yeah.
don't share. That's not a thing. We haven't got a pack of wolves where they're sharing from one carcass. And equally, if we did, that is where pack dynamics would roll in because I don't know, I don't want to go all into the pack
Yeah.
dynamics of things, but have you seen it where it says like, so you have got the alpha male and alpha female, but they're the breeding pair, obviously.
Yes.
They eat last. They don't eat first.
Yeah, it goes for the most fertile.
It goes, so yeah, the alpha male and alpha female are the breeding pairs, so the most versatile. But I seen something on the way they eat and then the way they are in the lineup. So when they're
Yeah.
walking, is the most vulnerable eat first. So the youngsters, the elderly, and then basically the alphas eat last
Oh, I
because
heard that differently.
they've got oh,
Yeah, oh, this is a bit
this is
controversial.
an interesting
So
one.
I heard it differently. So the way I heard it, it
Gonna have
goes
to do some
most,
research.
yeah, I'm gonna have to now because the course that I did on the dominance theory, if you
Yeah,
like, it explained it goes to the most fertile. So you've got the most fertile and the youngsters.
yeah,
The one that's going to be next most fertile, so
okay,
your teenagers, they go next because they're
yeah,
the next in line. Then your elderly and most vulnerable because they're on death's door, if you
yeah.
like. They go last. That for
Eating or in the
eating,
walking? Oh, okay.
eating. But how
Maybe I'm getting it in the walking
so
bit
so
then.
when you go for your what you're trying to explain is walking. So from what I know, how they actually work is the ones that are quicker do the chase, the
Yeah,
ones that are stronger do the bite in like stronger jaw pattern,
yeah.
do the bite inhibition, and they work as a team, which
But
a lot of
that's in the hunt, isn't it?
yeah in the hunting,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just talking about if they're like crossing the land, they have it.
Okay.
So the alpha male and female are at the back because they've got to look over their pack. And then you'll have, like you just said, you've got like the stronger of the two. You'll have them kind of spaced out around the pack, but you've got the elderly and the youngsters more at the front so
Okay.
that they're being looked over. Oh, we're gonna have to do some research.
Yeah, because I've not heard of it and the
We'll
walking
get
thing.
back to you guys. We'll get back
Yeah,
to you.
because I've only studied it like down to eating and hunting.
Yeah.
I haven't studied like so I have not heard about the whole walking thing. So that's quite cool
Right,
actually.
we're gonna have to get back to you all that are listening
And then
and
we'll
do
have to
some
come back
research
and do
on
a
that.
chat about
Yeah,
it.
we'll come back and we'll talk about. I mean, there's always controversial in it, the pack dynamic, so we'll come back to it. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
That's fine. So I think we are coming to the end of this. We'll end it on a good one. We'll end it on a research note. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. So as usual, guys, like, follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. We will come back to this discussion because one of us, not one of us is wrong. One of us, I've probably got it wrong, but equally, we want to figure out where the lines are crossed and
Yeah.
get the answer. So thank you, Jess, for coming on, and we will speak to you soon.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.